Okay, see if this is working. Shalom, this is Melech, and we are walking in Manhattan, New York City, near Times Square. And I'm back in the United States for a little while, heading on back to Israel soon. But let's talk about this place, New York City. Let's talk about this place, the United States of America. Let's talk about some truths that people don't want to hear and don't want to admit. I'll try to do this as logically as I can, try to get into it while I'm walking. So a lot of people call this, or at least New Yorkers, especially those running for mayor, like to call this city the greatest city in the world, the pinnacle of civilization. Well, people, if this is the pinnacle of civilization, we are all in deep shit. This is a hellhole. And not only is it a hellhole, it's a hellhole that has nothing really going for it. It's not real. This city, this country, the United States of America, there's nothing real to it anymore. It's all a facade. It's all an illusion. Maybe back in the 1700s, the 1800s, when pioneers built houses and produced actual things, silversmiths and blacksmiths and all of this kind of stuff, and grew crops. Maybe there was something real to it, but there's a feeling here, I feel here, since I've been back here, that there's absolutely nothing real to this place. It's all illusory. It's all held together by smoke and mirrors. Nothing is really. I'll find a place to park myself for a second. Nothing is really real here. The food isn't real here. It's all chemicals and additives. The money isn't real here. It's paper and it's worth nothing. I mean, the prices that you pay for things. I just went to look at a what was it? I think it was a tiny little roll for like $3 or something like that. So people are just desperate for money. So if they're not outright stealing, which many are, then what they're doing is, let me see if I can walk a little bit. What they're doing is coming up with ways to figure out how to get money off of other people in an immoral way, whether it's again selling them crappy food that isn't food, whether it is trying to sell them credit card debt at 25 or 30 or 35% interest rate. Everyone in this city, whether they look legit or not, whether it's some person just walking down the street, just hold this tight so it doesn't get knocked over. I really should find a place to stop and do this. Whether it's a person walking down the street or whether it's an established bank, everyone in this place is essentially a scammer. Everyone in this place is essentially a scammer. You go to the bank to open up a bank account, or you get a credit card that they call something like the Freedom Credit Card or the Adventure Credit Card or whatever the heck name they come up with. And ultimately, what it is a giant scam. It's an attempt to get you into debt. It's an attempt to sell you something that was bought at an extremely cheap price and then marked up 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, cheap crap from China that is marked up. So there's nothing real in this place. The people aren't real. There are no real interactions in this place. The people don't even interact with each other normally. I've lived in, well, I guess you could say, if you include Morocco, where I spent close to a year of my life in total, I've lived in 3 different countries besides the United States of America. And in all of the other countries I've lived in, I've visited about 30 different countries. All of the interactions are real. Here, the interactions are not real. People don't interact with each other in a real way. It's all very superficial and fake. It's all about what can I sell you, what can I, how can I screw you over, basically. So there's nothing real. So if this is the pinnacle of civilization, look at this. That's all right, man. If this is the pinnacle of civilization, then man, civilization is in trouble. And in fact, this civilization is in trouble. And I think that's the main reason that I wanted to do this video. So what we have here, something like this cannot sustain itself. You cannot have a city, a country, a society that is essentially an illusion that's built on absolutely nothing that sustains itself or for a long period of time or forever. It must collapse. It will collapse. This entire illusion, because it's built on nothing, it's built on smoke and mirrors, it's held together by bubble gum, it will collapse. And we've already seen stages in the collapse of this society. Let's turn around again for a second here. We've already seen stages in the collapse of this society, right? I remember growing up in the 1980s, and that was already, kind of advanced into the collapse, but it was still normal. And things were still normal, more or less, in this country until 2001, until 9/11. And then that was a watershed moment. And anyone who lived before and lived after will say that things fundamentally changed here. They got very weird. And then you had some other minor things like the 2008 financial crisis, and I don't know, Obama being elected, who knows what else. And then the other big watershed moment was in 2020 with the pandemic, the fake-demic, which again fundamentally changed the society, where people now realize that they have to even be distant from each other more, that they're now working remotely at home rather than in offices as they did before. It changed the society fundamentally. It broke down more trust in the society, and it was definitely a watershed moment. People became much more desperate for money afterwards. And so we see that when society collapses, it doesn't happen in a steady stream. There are these kind of watershed moments. When anything happens, there are these watershed moments, kind of tipping points. And so if one follows the trend, let's say from, World War II, into the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, already in the 50s and 60s, you had the beginnings of the 60s, you had the beginning of the decay into the 70s, and so on and so forth. And these watershed moments of 2001, 9/11, and the pandemic, and whatever else came in between, then it's logical. If you have a brain and you follow the trend line, then there's another watershed moment coming, which is going to further collapse this society, which is already teetering on the edge. I can't remember what the statistics are, but credit card debt is super high among everybody. People are living paycheck to paycheck. I think they say 67% of all Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. People don't have any money. That's why this Muslim guy won as a mayor, because he's basically promising to fix the problem. But basically, you have a society that is just held together by illusion. It's held together, again, by smoke and mirrors. And so anyone who has half a brain in his head knows that you have to get out of this place soon. Let's move over here before it's too late, because it's going to collapse. I don't know when. I used to have a friend back in Israel who would say "En li stopper," which means I'm not running a stopwatch. I don't have a stopwatch. But it is, here's Times Square, by the way, but it is going to collapse. There's going to be another watershed moment. Who knows what it's going to be? Will it be a terrorist attack? Will it be a war with another nation like China or Russia? Who knows? But there will be another watershed moment, which is going to push this already very unstable society over the edge. And along with the economic decay, the societal decay, the inequality of wealth, you also have, of course, moral decay, if you want to call it that. You have, the whole tranny issue. I have to be careful what I say on YouTube because I don't want to get banned. I don't know what their rules are these days. They seem to be a little bit more tolerant, but crazy, crazy. See, the Torah, I never say the Torah is against sexual immorality. I don't think that's the correct word or the correct phrase. It's against sexual depravity, right? It's against having sex with an animal. It's against dressing up acting as a woman and talking and looking as a woman when you're a man and vice versa. It's against sticking your up some other guy's butt, right? All of this is to any uh, observer is depravity, right? This is sick stuff. So you have also, besides the societal and the economic decay of the United States, you of course have the moral decay of the United States, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better, although there is some backlash now with Trump and the MAGA movement and the far right and the religious right. So maybe they will, maybe they'll do something to save the nation, but I don't think so, and I'll get into that in a little while. Let me get into that right now. So, and let me walk a little bit more. I just got to be careful that someone doesn't knock my cell phone right out of my hand. But let's see, find a little corner. Stand here. So, what does this all mean for us, the people of Israel, the Jews? Well, again, I have to be careful how I phrase this. Let's just say that we have always been at the vanguard of promoting these liberal ideas. We promoted liberal ideas, and it's these liberal ideas which are now coming back home to roost and destroying this country, which we thought we'd have a safe haven in. So I guess the bottom line to learn, I'll get more into that in just a bit, is that we never have a safe haven anywhere. And if we as Jews think that the United States is an eternal safe haven, then we're living in an illusion. Okay, Germany was not an eternal safe haven, even though the Jews thought it was. Europe was not. Iraq was not. Morocco was not. Spain was not. Portugal was not. England was not. South Africa was not. And so on and so forth. So there is no safe haven for us, for the people of Israel, except the land of Israel. And this is really, all of this is happening, right? Because it's Yahweh's way of showing us that we have no place except the land of Israel, right? So, in terms of the life of the Jews here, that life is coming to an end, because as the economic, societal, spiritual, moral decay continues of this country, and even if it doesn't, even if there's backlash, then this means that it's going to get more and more difficult for the Jews, for us, the Jews, to remain in this place. We're not going to remain in this place. We're going to either get thrown out, killed, grummed, who knows what's going to happen, right? Not everything has to end in a Holocaust or concentration camp. Sometimes it's just a couple of nice pogroms, a Kristallnacht, expulsions, all of this kind of stuff. And this was built in. We've kind of, wherever we go, we're welcome at first, but then we always overstay our welcome. As any guest in any house, you go to someone's house, they're happy to see you the first couple of days, maybe the first week. After 2 weeks, they kind of, like getting sick of you. And after a month, they're like, enough is enough. Get the hell out of here. Okay. And that's when you're a guest in a place. So since we are guests in this place and we forgot we're guests in this place, we started taking the place over and thinking the place is ours, then it's only a matter of time before the hosts, who are essentially still, the white Europeans who founded this country, are, if they even can retain control of this country, but even the other races that have moved into this country are going to realize that we as guests, the Jews as guests, we've made a menace of ourselves, and they're going to take action, whether we like it or not. So the Jewish experience in this country is coming to an end. Its time is quickly dissipating, and I know it sounds alarmist, and my friends have been laughing at me for years and even decades, because I've been saying this for years and decades, but I think there are some very specific things we can point to, like the election of this Muslim mayor, this Zahan Mamdani, who, despite what he says, despises Jews, and certainly despises the idea, or does not accept the idea, of Israel as the homeland of Jewish people. I remember hearing him on television, and they asked him, do you accept the idea of Israel as a Jewish state? And he says, I accept the existence of Israel. So it seemed like he answered the question, and like a sneaky, again, I have to be careful with my language, a sneaky person, he went on to say, as a state where all people have equal rights. So he does not understand, he does not accept the state of Israel as a homeland for the Jewish people. He does not accept the specialness, chosenness of the Jewish people. And since he was elected in the city, this represents a watershed moment. It's a reflection of the people here, and the people are no longer. This is an indication that the people in the city, and by extension this country, are no longer friendly towards the Jews. That they're turning anti-Jewish, as has happened in so many other countries. Our pattern is we're invited to countries. When we're invited into those countries, the countries rise in power. You can point to the Ottoman Empire. You can point to Spain, Portugal. You can point to the Netherlands, Amsterdam. You can point to London, and you can point to New York and the United States. And then, for various reasons, because maybe for our own self-preservation, at least in the case of us coming to the United States, maybe because we are misguided, we want to change the world, but since we are not Torah-based, we don't do it in the right way, so it's misguided. But we end up screwing things up. At first, it all looks good, but at a certain point, it kind of reaches its pinnacle, and then we end up screwing it up more than helping it. And then the goyim, the host goyim, we make a stink of ourselves in the nose of the host goyim. That's a phrase that's used a number of times in the Tanakh, including when Moses comes to Pharaoh and says, "Let my people go," and then Pharaoh says, "Oh, you're asking this because you're lazy," and then Pharaoh imposes upon the Israelites that now they have to gather their own straw. And then it says there that the Israelites complain to Moses, "You've made a stink. You've made us a stink in the nose of Pharaoh." and given him an excuse to kill us. So we have, by promoting liberal ideas which fundamentally change the fabric of our host country for various reasons. Again, self-preservation, I think, was one of them, and misplaced, misguided kindness and desire to change the world is another. But we have essentially now gotten to the point where we are more and more each day are and have made ourselves a stink in the nose of the host Goyim here. And the Goyim may be stupid, so many Jews think, but they ain't that stupid. And they will eventually react, as they did in every other country just about that we've been in. So everything, it's ironic, because we know that everything, I won't say everything, but things often have a beginning, right? They rise to a certain pinnacle, they reach a pinnacle, and then there's a decay, and eventually a collapse and a disappearance and erasure. And ironically, all of the nations of the world follow this pattern. The Roman Empire followed this pattern, the Greek Empire, the Persian Empire, all of the other nations I mentioned, the Portuguese Empire, the British Empire, etc. Right? They follow this pattern. One nation that does not follow this pattern is the nation of Israel. We don't follow a pattern where we reach a pinnacle and then disappear. We are an eternal nation. It's me'olam le'olam. As long as the earth exists, as long as the heavens are above, as long as the sun is above and the ground is below, so the nation of Israel exists. But where we do follow that pattern is our stay in foreign nations. It always follows that pattern. So our stay in foreign nations, like in the United States, it has a beginning, it has a rise, it reaches its pinnacle, then it kind of, what do they say, jumps the shark, it passes its pinnacle, and then there's a decay and an ultimate collapse. And that's what we have here, and that's what we're in the midst of here. So the Jewish experience in the United States of America is coming to an end. We're on more and more shaky ground every single day, which is exactly the way it's built. Hi, how's it going? I'm not giving you any money, so shake someone else's hand. No, I don't want Mickey Mouse. Goodbye. How's it going? All right. See, everyone's desperate for money to dress up in stupid costumes and try to make them give them money. So, anywho, where were we? So, there they are. So, what was I going to say? Man, I'm not giving you any money. No, I don't want you on camera. Have a nice day. No, I don't want to touch your hand. All right. Anyway, let me continue walking here. The pinnacle of faithless society, the greatest city in the world, right? God, what a shithole. Yeah. So there are other things. There are specific things that we as the Jews did. We promoted, and I'm not saying we were only responsible, but we're definitely the vanguard of a lot of these ideas, which is, bringing all of the races, promoting open immigration. So, and this is not a racist statement, it's just a statement of fact. You cannot have a country that is built up of many, many races and expect it to be coherent. There's no coherence because blood is stronger than water. And eventually what's going to happen, what's already happening, is it's not going to form one big happy family. What's going to happen is it's going to form tribal warfare. The blacks will stick with the blacks, the Hispanics with the Hispanics, the Jews with the Jews, the Chinese with the Chinese, the Koreans with the Koreans, and so on and so forth. So you don't have one big happy family as the New York Times or whatever other mouthpieces you have in the society tend to promote. Oh wow, this is a melting pot. And so they tend to, promote this false idea that that by bringing everyone together, we've created some kind of utopia where everyone's friends and buddies and we all love each other. And hey, how you doing? And no, it doesn't work that way. It's a lie. It's a falsehood, because what this country is a giant shopping mall. And when the music stops, then and the money runs out, then you'll see if everyone's one big happy family. What's going to happen is it will descend into utter tribal warfare, and each race will stick with its own, and will then compete for what little resources are left. And boy, oh boy, I don't want to be here when that happens. It's going to be nasty. So where's this all heading? Okay, so we see that Donald Trump, and I'm a huge fan of Donald Trump, despite the fact that I don't like that he stopped the war with Iran after 12 days, and that he ended the war with Gaza before we killed off all of our enemies. Again, I have to be careful with our words, but let's just say, we really need to finish all of it off in Gaza, and he stopped that war. But the thing is like this, in order for him to do what he really wants to do, which is somehow revive this country to its former glory, or his perception of his former glory, he's going to have to stay in power for more than another 4 years. He's basically going to have to take charge of the country for 3, 4, 5, 6 terms, because in the time of crisis, and this is a major crisis, you need that kind of stability. That's why China is such an effective country, because they don't have this turnover every 4 years. And not only that, the turnover works when the society in the country is relatively stable, right? So I don't know, the turnover from George Washington to the second president, John Adams, I believe, to Thomas Jefferson, I think was pretty stable because everyone was kind of on the same page. But when a society becomes unstable, then you get into, if anyone has a mathematics background, you get into a chaotic system. Everything is these wild changes back and forth, back and forth. So the difference between a Trump and a Biden and an Obama and another Trump term, etc., these are wild swings. And the swings will get even more wild as the society becomes more unstable, as it becomes more chaotic. Because chaos means that little changes in the society lead to huge, or have huge effects. Butterfly effect, if you guys know what that is. At any rate, so yeah, it's a chaotic system. So this society, which is destabilized and which is in free fall at this point, or is in a late advanced state of collapse, you can expect wild swings. If you allow the system to change every 4 years, you can expect more and more wild swings, right? And we even see that the left and the right are getting more polarized, right, from each other. And what's going to happen, and what is happening, is that so in 2016, they elected Trump, the right, and people thought, oh, that's going to save the day. But it didn't. So they go to the left, hoping it's going to save the day because they're desperate. And that didn't work, so they go back to the right. 2024, they elect Trump again. And then they go to, and then what's going to happen in 28? It's going to swing back to the left. And it'll be the left that comes into power in 28 will be even more radical. And then in 32, if this country still exists then, and is not descended in complete chaos, then it'll go back to the right, and it'll be the far right. And then who knows what's going to happen after that. You see what I mean? So if there's any hope for stability in the society, then Trump is going to have to stay in power for more than another 4 years. Will he be able to? Who knows? He might. What's everyone looking at here? Cell phones. Probably nothing important. And but if not, then you're going to have these vicious swings back and forth from right to left, until the whole thing just breaks apart like an airplane. When it becomes unstable, its nose will start bouncing up and down, and then if you don't stop it, then that instability becomes more and more pronounced, and eventually you can either have a stall, a spin, or even a complete collapse of the structure of the airplane. So that's what's happening now, and that's what we can expect to happen more. So what can I say? As I said, people for years and decades have laughed at me when I said, oh, the United States is going to collapse soon. The Jews need to get out. It's dangerous for the Jews here. I think now it's becoming a bit more obvious. I think the election of Mamdani is a wake-up call for some Jews at least, though we are very stubborn people. But as it continues down this road, then it will become more and more obvious to those who want to hear. Of course, you're going to have many Jews who, just like in Germany, said, oh, Hitler's just a passing phase. This is just going to pass. No big deal. So whatever happens here, this is the United States of America. Nothing will happen here. This is our homeland. This is our safe haven. And, of course, that is not the case. It can happen here just like it happened in Germany, just like it happened in some of the other countries. Again, it can happen in concentration camps and gas chambers. It can end in expulsions. It can end in pogroms. It can end in stripping of citizenship. Who knows how it can end, but it can end in many ways. So I say to my fellow Jews, my fellow Israelites, you better pack your bags now and have an escape plan, because the watershed moment will happen, and it happens quickly. And I'll give an analogy for that. Every morning, since I've been here, I take a walk in the park, an early morning walk in the park. I don't waste my time at synagogues, Bate Knesset. They bore the hell out of me. If I want to speak to Yahweh, then I do it in nature. I do it in the park. And so I have these very intense walks in nature every morning, usually from about 7:30 in the morning till about 9:30 in the morning. Sometimes earlier, so it's usually around that time. And what I see recently is, 2 weeks ago. So it's now autumn here in New York. It's absolutely beautiful. The changing leaves, I forgot what it's like because I've been out of New York for so long. Last time I was here was in 2020. And I lived in Portugal for 4 years and then moved back to Israel. But so, 2 weeks ago, the leaves were all yellow and orange and red, and they were beautiful. And it was 65 degrees, 60 degrees, maybe in the 50s, again, that's in Fahrenheit. In Celsius, we're talking about maybe 15 to 20 degrees, something like that, 15 degrees thereabouts. Beautiful sunny days, or warm, not warm, but, mild rainy days for the most part. And everything was nice, and the trees were nice and beautiful. And you say, oh, this is going to last forever. Nothing's going to change. And then all of a sudden, a cold front moves in about, 3, 4, 5 days ago, and it's down in the 30s. It's down to like 30 degrees. It's snowing actually a little bit. During the day, it's up to around only in the high 30s. And again, in Celsius, we're talking about in the range of 0 to about 5 degrees, something like that. And boy, it just happened suddenly. And then now this week, within a week, most of the leaves, I won't say most, but many of the leaves are off the trees. There's no longer a lot of yellows and oranges and reds. A lot of the leaves are now brown. A lot of the trees are starting to look empty. And it just happened suddenly, just like that. And 2 weeks ago, you would say, how? It could never happen, right? It's 65 degrees, it's sunny, there's yellows, there's oranges, there's reds. And boom, all of a sudden it happens. And it happens very quickly. And you don't see it happening. You don't see it coming until it happens. You could say the same thing about getting back to the United States and its ongoing collapse. Say the same thing about 9/11. You could say the same thing about the pandemic. I remember watching television in 2020 and around January 2020, and started hearing this news item about some disease called the coronavirus. I'm like, okay, whatever, that's just another news item. And then start hearing it more and more. And then one day it just snaps. Whoa, something is going on here. Like, this is not just normal news. This is like a major news story, right? Something different is going on here. And all happens suddenly. That's when the greatest city in the world, for a homeless person sitting there with a dog. A lot of mental illness in the city. A lot of physical illness. People are unhealthy, fat. Very, very unhealthy looking. Whoa. That guy got his driver's license. I think in India. At any rate, a lot of people in this city on psychiatric medication, antidepressants, and other types of psychiatric medication. They're fat, they're unhealthy, they're mentally unhealthy. You speak to them, you realize that you're speaking to people who are not very mentally healthy or physically healthy. So at any rate, right, so with the pandemic, it all happened very suddenly. You didn't see it coming. As soon as I saw it coming, and as soon as I saw something's going on here, I packed my bags and I went to Portugal. That's where I lived for 4 years. And so it happens very suddenly. So now we're used to it. It's post 2020. The new reality has sunk in after this watershed, coronavirus nonsense. But whatever the next thing is, and it will be worse, because that's the way these things are. They increase exponentially. Whatever it is, it'll be worse. It will happen suddenly. It'll happen very, very quickly, just like it did in Germany. Just like it did in Germany, right? No one saw it coming. And by the time they saw it coming, they didn't want to believe it. And those who didn't want to believe it, it was already too late. So that's what I expect will happen here. When? Who knows? As my friend Avner used to say back in Israel, "Eli stopper." I don't have a stopwatch. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Listen, if we look at it, right? If we look at the watershed moments of 2001, okay, maybe 2008, 2020, they'll speed up. They'll speed up. So 2001 to 2008 was 7 years. 2008 to 2020, 12 years. Who knows? Within the next 5 years, something big is going to happen. And this society is already so unstable. It's already so on the edge, again, economically, socially, spiritually, societally, in every way you can think of, that when it happens, it's going to all happen very quick, and it's going to be a big one. Do I know what it is going to be? I have no idea. Maybe, again, maybe a huge terrorist attack, maybe a war with China. Who knows? Who knows? But whatever it is, it'll be big, and it'll be a watershed moment. And after this next watershed moment, because everything's so on the edge already, because people are barely hanging on in this city, in this country, economically, they can barely make ends meet. Again, people are in huge credit card debt. The country itself is in debt, huge. Who knows how many trillions of dollars in debt? The dollar is useless; it's worth nothing, right? Prices are—I've never seen prices like this. I go to a bakery, kosher bakery near my house, and for a piece of apple pie, it's $10. Coffee's $5. After tax and tip, it's $20. A piece of apple pie and a coffee is $20. It's ridiculous. So, everything is already so on the edge, and already everything is held together with smoke and mirrors, right? In 2020, they gave everyone money, so that kind of, pumped up the false sense of security for a little while, but then people ran out of the money, and now people are really struggling. So whatever is next, it's gonna push things over the edge to the next level, and I think that's gonna be it. I think at that point, the goyim, and I don't mean that in the condescending way, it's kind of almost mocking us Jews for making fun of the goyim, thinking they're so stupid when some are really dumb, but many of them understand what's going on, and they're already sick and tired of us. They already have pinpointed us as the problem, and so when the next watershed moment comes, then I think that's going to be the end of us here. So the good idea, the smart idea is to get ready for it and prepare for it before it happens. I don't live here anymore. I'm just visiting. I'm getting on back to Israel in a couple of weeks. And to quote the rabbis, which I don't always like to do, but I like this particular quote, Hakham roet nolad, who is wise, he sees where things are heading. He sees what's about to be born, what's coming. So that's it from the greatest city in the world, the pinnacle of civilization. Look, people, look at the pinnacle of civilization, a complete garbage dump, a shithole of physically and mentally and spiritually ill people living in dirt-infested streets. So from the greatest city in the world, New York City, here in Times Square, this is Melech saying shalom, and please leave your comments. Please subscribe, whatever the heck you want to do, and we'll see you again soon. Shalom. How do I stop?